Hey, what's happening, everybody? And thank you for tuning in to episode number 7. We keep going. Has it been 7 weeks of this?
It has been 7 weeks. You and I sitting at the table.
Wow. And I think that for the next episode, we'll probably try to bring somebody else in. I think it's about time that we bring somebody else in.
Okay.
And talk about some other topics. But today's episode is going to be all about self-talk. All the different components to it. I think how we talk to ourselves, our environments, relationships, daily routines. All of it has to do with how we end up, being a part of our business, or it kind of flows into our business, so to speak.
Oh, absolutely. I did a Dale Carnegie course, feels like 100 years ago. And one of the things that they taught us in that was a thing. It said, what you think about, you bring about. Mm-hmm. And, later on it was changed with other real estate companies and stuff to what you focus on expands. Mm-hmm. And it's true.
Yeah.
If you focus all day long on positive things show up in your life. Mm-hmm. And if you focus on negative things, well, they're coming at you a mile a minute, and it's that self-talk is really every day. What are we thinking about? Yeah,
and I think the other term or the other quote is, we become what we think about.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know for me, like being an entrepreneur, I could never. It's hard to get the growth that I've gotten in my business by thinking negatively. You kind of have to have that positive mindset. Focus on your goal, focus on where you're going to be successful in this business. I think in any business, that you're trying to do.
That focus, that what you wake up every day with, that desire to move forward towards, whether it be that new car or, and again, that's self-talk. When you're sitting and you're waking up and you're like, I'm going to go get that. I'm going to make things happen and make this work. Then that's what you start to create in your life, as opposed to going, I'll never have that, or I'll never sell $1 million house, as opposed to, I want to sell 12 this year. Mm-hmm. There's a different mindset that goes with that. And we talk a lot about mindset, but where mindset comes from is self-talk.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of agents and a lot of people, get in the habit of going, I want to talk to myself in a positive manner. And they're like, this sounds great. And I want to set my goal, but they never actually do it.
No.
Right. It's not something that they physically practice on a daily basis. No. And here at the brokerage, we have like a daily, kind of like a daily goal, daily gratitude.
It's our 3 days.
Yeah,
gratitudes, intentions, and goals. And it's, if you wake up every morning, you think about, what am I grateful for today? Mm-hmm. My health, my my loved ones, my home, whatever it is, and you think about that. In the beginning, it's very easy because there's so many things to be grateful for. But as you start to look for things to be grateful for, that's when more things show up in your life that you're grateful for. Mm-hmm. And then the intentions for the day. What am I setting up? What am I saying I'm going to do today? Where am I moving out? And, intention, and this goes back to another talk I was having with one of my other coaches, was intention breeds self-confidence. Mm-hmm. Because if you intend to do something, you will create the self-confidence to do that. Mm-hmm. If you would like to do it, but you don't have that intent, then the self-confidence, you're like, well, I'm not really confident in my abilities, as opposed to when you're like, I'm going to get this done. Mm-hmm. It gets out of the way. And that's self-talk. That's what you're surrounding yourself with and what you're thinking about. What you think about, you bring about. But it's so important that you write that stuff down. And even this morning I was talking about this, where I said, stay true to your goals. Mm-hmm. Not only just writing them down. Like, writing them down, that's great, but go back to them. Mm-hmm. Most people won't. Most people write them down, put them in the drawer, and a year later they pull that out and go, wow, I hit 5 of the 10 that I wrote down.
Right.
As opposed to every morning waking up and going, okay, what am I doing today?
And I think the other part of it is obviously the taking action, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I think a lot of people fail. We'll look at the goals, will have the self-talk, everything's great, but they don't take the necessary actions, take the necessary steps to get to that goal. And I think it's kind of like having that 007 mindset. Like when you watch 007 movies, he's got a mission, he's got the confidence, he knows what he's going to do, and he's doing it, and nothing can get in his way.
Right.
And then he becomes this like really confident,
Yeah.
secret agent.
And he pushes people out of the way to get to where he wants to be. I'm not saying push people out of the way, but don't let other people their intent for you cloud your vision.
Right.
And that happens a lot.
It does. And then even in my own personal life, like I had to eliminate certain people in my life that
Absolutely.
that have that negative mindset, like, oh my God, what are you doing? Like, oh, you're crazy. Like, oh, you shouldn't open up this company, or you shouldn't do this and that. And I eliminate a lot of these people, even people that are close and dear to me. I have to kind of keep them at arm's length.
Yeah, you got to distance yourself from, what they say, the naysayers, but even more so, a lot of times our loved ones do this to protect us.
Right. And I think growing up, I mean, I'm an only child. My parents told me either I got to be a lawyer or a doctor. Didn't become either two, so I ended up going into sales and becoming a broker. So they come from this mindset of education is everything, and the more degrees that you have, the better, and that means you've made it in this life. And they don't see the mindset of the entrepreneur, or haven't really had the businesses. So anytime I try to make any type of moves in that sense, they just don't get it.
Right. And they're doing it to protect you. They're not doing it to bring you down.
Right.
They're saying if you go out and you don't have these degrees or this happening for you, you're not going to be safe. And I just had my mother-in-law here for a week. Okay, and
God bless you.
Oh my God, love her to death, Ma. Okay, but everything about and anything that we discussed was safety. It was, are you going to be okay? Are you safe? And I'm like, Ma, relax. Like, we got to get out there and look for things. And she's more about just keeping everybody, huddled together, and which is what most loved ones want to do. They don't want to see you leave the nest.
Yeah.
Or branch out.
And sometimes, in a sense, it's about keeping you like weaker than them in a weird way.
Absolutely.
Where they don't want to see you kind of excel and become this like bigger than them in this.
Well, yeah, I mean,
like very dysfunctional type of way.
Yeah, absolutely. Parents, number one, they will always see you as the baby, so they're always the protector. And you and I have discussed this when we're getting to that age where we're seeing our parents turn into our children, so to speak, and where we have to take care of them and protect them. And that's a very uncomfortable place for loved ones to be, as they see other people growing outside of their world. And that becomes this talk. Self-talk is also environment. What you're surrounding yourself, the people you're surrounding yourself with.
And I see this a lot of times with agents that are married and their spouse may not be an entrepreneur. Their spouse may be the 9-to-5er or whatever, and maybe the wife or the husband, for that matter, decides to get their real estate license, and maybe they're a part-time agent. Maybe they're trying to transition to be a full-time agent, and as we all know in this business, it could take 6 months to a year to get your first deal, depending on how hard you work it. And without that money coming in, I mean, the talk at home could be like, oh, you haven't made any money in real estate. This is probably not for you. Maybe you should go back to work, honey, or whatever it is. And so they're going home to this environment where it's telling them to leave the business.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And that's it's something that I've always created my office environments around. This is safe. This is home base. Right. Like, you got to go home, and when I'm coaching agents, I ask them, who are they going home to? And it's not in a negative way, but what do you have a support system at home, or do you need more support here? Like, are you coming here and is this home base? I am grateful to the day that I'll die for my wife, that she supports me in everything I do, and I support her. But I know that's an anomaly.
It is. You were very lucky to have that, because I didn't necessarily have that, and obviously now kind of being a single dad or whatever, like now I don't have that at home, to where obviously I would love to have that support, but on the same token, without having that person at home to maybe even bring me down, so to speak, I can excel and do what I want to do and thrive.
Now there's zero limits on you, that becomes a whole different thing. That's why he's got 4 offices and I work in one. Okay? But
Hey, you got a big badass office.
I got a big bad office. I'm not going to lie
you're
about
pretty good.
But the idea, you know what I'm saying though? It's,
Yeah.
I mean, there's no limit on what you're thinking other than what's in your own mind. You're not running your ideas through anybody.
Correct.
And God forbid you run them past me, because I'm always saying, let's do
You are
that.
the worst when I talk to you about stuff. You're like, yeah,
Yes,
I gotta
we
get
should
2
do
more
that.
offices.
Okay.
Yeah, we should keep going and going and going. But yeah, I think it's really important to have that support system, and that's the environment piece to this. Is obviously the brokerage environment. You're going to get the support. Obviously, you're going to go to the meetings. You're going to go to the trainings. You're going to go around. You talk to your broker, maybe your mentor, whoever, your colleagues. Everyone's going to be doing stuff. Or hey, you know what? You might be the 1 or 2% that may not have a good work environment. Maybe it's a very cutthroat brokerage where everybody's competing against each other and everybody's kind of not very supportive.
There's plenty of those out there.
There's that going on too.
There's plenty of those out there.
But the environment's important.
Yeah,
100%.
It's one of the things you and I discussed when we, put this whole thing together with these, is creating that environment that people come to, and what expectation of doing business, an expectation of getting along, that expectation of coming here to learn and put to use what you learned today in the real world later that day.
Yeah.
And it's not theorizing on what could and should be. It's talking about what we do, and that's something that this whole thing is built on. You and I don't sit here and pontificate on what would be nice or what we did in the past. We, sometimes we're talking about things that happened earlier today.
Absolutely.
And I mean, some of our best material comes from what happened to us 15, 20 minutes ago. And that's the idea of building this home base. And it's safe to talk about, safe to discuss other clients, things to that effect.
Yeah. And then part of the reason why we're doing this is obviously to give out, free information to people and share with them our story. But there's other agents in the office that are actually looking at what we're doing, and it's helping them see that, hey, video is fun to do. We're doing a podcast is cool to do.
Yeah.
We should try to expand our marketing and our reach by doing, some of these types of videos. And
it's also therapy, but that's a whole nother story. We get to talk it out.
Right.
No, but yes, absolutely. I mean, showing people that this is the way it's done. And, I've told you this before. A long time ago, I worked on Wall Street. And when I took this new position, I told my boss that I can't wait to tell people what I did, how to get here, how I got here. And he turned back and he said, the day you tell people what you did is the day you begin to fail. Because then you're a coach who was. He said, you tell people what you do, and you produce and you promote what you've done today, and that's how you show people what they're capable of doing. And I will think about that day for the rest of my life, because it changed everything in my business and the way I looked at business and in my coaching. That I'll never hold a class or teach somebody or coach somebody on, what I did back when I was your age. It's, what I'm doing right now to get new business. And that changes everything, because you can't put a number on that when you have somebody who's actually doing it telling you how to do it. As opposed to what most coaches do is they hit a certain level and then they get into coaching and then they don't have to produce anymore. It's very easy to tell people how to produce. It's very difficult to produce and show people how you do it.
Or actually pick up the phone and call the client, or go out and meet with the client and show people this is how it's done.
And look, I go out with clients, I go out with agents. They will come with me, and I don't get every deal. I don't close every deal, and it's even important for them to see that. That you're losing a deal or something goes south, and you got to crush that and move on, and see how we respond to that. Right? A bad day is simply yesterday. It's not tomorrow.
Right.
It's not Friday. Those are days away, man. Things are going to be better. And what I've always found is most bad days become the funniest stories in the retail.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Okay. You know what happened to me once? And it's like now you can paint that on a funny aspect, as opposed to it's always a terrible thing. That's how I look at my bad days. And it helps me get through. And some people own their bad days. And that's their identity. And that's their self-talk. The bad things that are happening.
And then you could look at things in a positive manner, like, hey, this isn't so bad. I remember when X, Y, Z happened to me.
Absolutely.
And that was much worse, right?
Absolutely. You know, what happens to you is only positive or negative as to the self-talk and the way you spin that in your own retell. You know, I mean, you and I both have pretty similar stories that we had a lot, we lost a lot, we got it back.
Right.
You know,
I mean, you're not an entrepreneur if that didn't happen to
right,
you, right?
Right.
Or in sales, or for that matter, right?
And if I tell my stories about how I lost all these, you know, things, and oh my God, I had this and I had that, and whoa, then it just becomes this complaint thing. And I see myself more, and I think you see the same way, as somebody who overcame the issues that they were handed, and made more of what the opportunities that were afforded them. And from that's where the self-talk really has to kick in. Because look, when you're down and you just keep putting yourself down further and further, I call it that stacking effect.
Yeah.
You know, and you got to knock that stack over. It's like, you know, I don't know that game that you pull the wood things out. What is that called? Gajanga or something. All right. Knock that friggin' knock that thing over.
That's how they say it in New York.
Gajanga, man.
Let's go play Gajanga.
Yo, okay, don't disrespect me. But knock that thing over and rebuild it the way you want to see it. And it doesn't have to go straight. And you can do anything you want. And that's in that self-talk, that rebuilding of your emotions, you know.
How do you talk to yourself? Right. What do you say to yourself every morning?
Every morning, I this comes right from this comes right from Jerry Maguire.
Okay.
Every morning, if you remember the movie, he had a mentor, and his little old man, and every morning he'd wake up and he'd clap his hands and he'd say, "Today is going to be a great day," all right, and. You can ask my wife. Every morning I wake up and I do that. She's like, oh, I know. All right, 2 feet on the ground. Let's do this.
Yeah.
And from that moment, things get better. If I wake up, I'm like, oh, my God, this is terrible. It's still dark out. I don't feel good. My back hurts from yesterday. I don't want to expand on that. You know, today's going to be a great day. Let's go. And, you know, if I'm hobbling out the door or my shoes are untied, what have you, it'll get better from there.
Now, what about like mantras? Like, is it, you know, like the whole like saying like I'm confident today. Like this is gonna like obviously this is a great day, or like I am success. Like you see those YouTube videos.
Yeah. I always listen to something positive in the morning. I don't watch the news. Okay, I'll always go onto YouTube and I'll always look for something.
There's enough drama in my life.
Yeah, yes, folks. Okay, you don't need it, and we're all gonna live. Okay. But the idea, you know, what are those called? I forget. Mantras, yes, but there's a word for it. I forget. The idea of waking up and saying a couple positive things to yourself is phenomenal, and that's where that our 3-a-days kind of were born. And that's waking up and thinking of gratitudes. You know, another one. One of my coaches taught me years and years ago was look at yourself in the mirror and say, "I'm a great salesperson." Say that 3 times, you know, and as you know, 8 o'clock this morning, I was dealing with some crazy things. Right? I looked in the mirror, and I did. I looked in the mirror, and I said, whatever happens today, no, you're a great salesperson. And you'll get through today. You'll move on. All right? And some of the things are still happening. I know I'll get through it. And I'll become a better agent. I'll become a better mentor. I'll become a better coach. And the people that this is happening around will learn valuable lessons from it. And when you look at it that way, as opposed to, oh my God, how much money am I going to lose? It's like, get it out of the way and go make more. Because as much money as we're ever going to lose, we have limitless opportunities to make more.
Glass half full?
Always.
Glass is always half full, right?
How about you?
Well, my day is
Today's going to be a great day.
Today's going to be a great day. That's how I start the day. No. I do like to watch stuff for my coaches on YouTube. Something positive, something motivational, maybe some sort of new technology coaching technique, something in the morning, just to kind of start the day. And that's kind of always in the back of my head. And I actually
who was
use
that football player that we saw at that thing.
Football player.
The rehab guy. That real positive guy we saw at the up in San Francisco.
Oh, I forgot that guy's name.
I have him on replay on my YouTube. He's got great motivational things. You know, I'll figure out the name and I'll send it out.
Yeah, put it in the comments below. But I'll try to watch something like that. I do have self-talk. Like I do have like the mantras that I say to myself like 2 and 3 times a day. I'm not going to tell you what those are. My little secret. But I do have that I do on a daily basis. Then I meditate and I pray and I try to look at all the things that I'm grateful for and that I'm thankful for in a day. And that's kind of how I start my day. Obviously with workout and that's definitely part of my morning routine. But I always got to look at the positive parts of situations that happen and accept that things happen for a reason. Once I kind of transition my head like, okay, well, this happened. Maybe it's something bad, but what's the good from it? Can I learn a lesson from this? What is, I'm a believer in God. So what is God teaching me in this moment to where, okay, I can learn from this and be a better person moving forward? And I think, obviously from situations my past, financially or in business or what have you, there's definitely all learning experiences I can learn from, which has made me better for today, right? So it's definitely part of my routine and the way my mindset works, looking at the good of things that come.
Now, I get texts from Amir, sometimes a little misspelled.
Because I have a lot of people.
Because he's running, on his treadmill. And I call him one day. I said, "What are you doing?" And he's all out of breath. He's like, "I'm running." I'm like, "Dude, now?" I just got a text from you 30 seconds ago. But there's both of us wake up in the morning every day and we go and do something exercise driven.
Absolutely.
And it's pretty intense. I mean, what I'm doing is highly intense. And I know you're...
Yeah, I'm doing classes, spin classes, group fitness classes, weights, running, doing something.
And there's something to be said for getting your heart rate like pumping like that, where first thing in the morning that you wake up and your self-talk again is oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to do this. You get in the car. What's the hardest part of getting to the gym?
Just getting to the gym,
right? Once, and it's like getting out the front door. Like once you're heading down the stairs, you're like, okay, momentum is behind me now. I'm at least going to make it to the car. But once you get there, it's like, all right, let's do this. And I approach the office the same way. It's like you get into the office, and I tell agents, I'm like, just get here. Just get here. Try to get into the office and do nothing. Okay? And what I mean by that is once you get here, you're going to be hard-pressed not to work.
Right.
All right?
Because you're going to be around people
who are working.
Right? You're in an environment where people are doing stuff towards their business. And if you don't do that, you kind of feel left out, right?
Right. And now you always have the energy suckers in every office. There's always one or two. Hey, what are you doing? Want to talk?
What'd you do this weekend?
All right,
Oh, hey.
Let's do this. Let's move along, and the idea behind that is the more you're focused on your goals, your intentions, the less likely or the less inclined you are to spend more time with them. We do a phone clinic on Thursday nights and Wednesday mornings. And I tell people, don't come in here with a list of 100 people to call, because then you don't want to get on the phone. All right? 100 cold calls are like, oh my God, this is going to be horrible. What have you been up to? Let's talk about this, and then they'll come into my office. Hey, I got a question for you. Come in the phone clinic or sit down in a phone session with 20 people you got to follow up with from an open house or from a broker's open or from a showing or something like that. And just, I have to talk to these 5, 10, 15 people. All of a sudden, when someone comes over and says, hey, Amir, you hear about that? You're like, I'm busy right now. I'll talk to you in 15 minutes. And the hardest thing about getting on the phone, just like getting in the gym, is picking it up. Once you got the phone in your hand, you're like, you know what, this is easy.
Right.
And again, our self-talk, our negative self-talk, which we didn't really talk much about, is that drag on all of our desires. Okay, yeah, I want to set an appointment a day for real estate, but I don't really want to get on the phone today. Right? And that's that negative self-talk. Like, well, people are going to be mad at me. You know, what's the number one thing everyone says about expires? They're mean. Okay.
They're pissed they didn't get their house sold.
Yeah, I'd be right. upset too, you know, and it's like, and how are you approaching them? And even more so, can you change their self-talk? Because right now what they're saying is what? I hate realtors. But they don't hate realtors. They hate the fact that their home didn't sell. And once you can get inside that and start changing that, Tony Robbins talks a lot about it with what's called pattern interrupt. That, you know, when you're stacking and stacking things, if you immediately switch it off and go a different direction, okay, you can really change that momentum in things. Like, we've all had that situation when the phone rang and our heart sank. You're like, ugh. And we can get into a bad mood over something that quickly. Well, can you put yourself in a good mood that quickly? Can you get yourself powered up to do that? And that's all in, what was that? Awaken the Giant Within. The book is phenomenal. And if you ever have a chance to go to the class and actually take it and walk the fire with him, he teaches you how you can change your state in the snap of a finger. Where you go from like, okay, you know, you're sitting in a chair for 11 hours and you snap your fingers and you're walking across 12 feet of burning coals. And you're not burning your feet. You know, your mind can do amazing things when you put your mind to it and you know how to manipulate it.
Did they make you sign a waiver for that?
No.
No, they're just like,
No,
we're
not
so
that I
confident
remember.
that you're not going to burn your feet. Like, just walk over this stuff.
Yeah, and it's pretty hardcore. I mean, I did it twice, and the first time I did it, I was like, wow, I got to do that again. And the second time I did it, I said, wow, I'll do that any time I have the opportunity to. And it's
But
it's
you
really
were in
something.
the environment, right? You were in an environment with a group of people
Yeah.
that were all motivated to go do that,
Oh, yeah.
even though your feet could get burnt off.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you just went ahead and did it because of your environment.
And it is not a parlor trick. It's not some game or anything that he plays a game with, because I'll tell you what, I did it the first time, and I crossed the fire, and you get to the edge, and two people grab you as you walk off the fire. And they grab you because we were downtown LA. If they didn't grab me, I would have walked to Venice Beach. And you just go into this like, I'm doing this. And I'm going. And when they grab you, they hose your feet down.
Okay.
Hose off all of the embers. And I actually, they did it, and I just walked away. I didn't let them finish because I was just like, wow, it's really mind-blowing. And I walked away, and there was a little ember that stayed in my pinky toe.
Oh, God.
And I put my shoes on, and about a minute later, I went, oh my God, and I pulled my shoe off, and I pulled this ember off, and I had a blister. So yes, it does burn. And I was embarrassed. I didn't want to tell anybody I burned my feet, because I didn't want to be that guy who burned his feet on the fire. So I had to go back another time. Like, I got to go back and not burn my feet, you know. And I went back the following year, and it was fine. But it's just that idea that people think it's a trick, and it's not. It's your self-talk. It's what you're saying to yourself.
What are you saying to yourself in that moment? Were you like, holy crap, about to burn my feet?
Yeah. No,
I mean,
it was.
like,
It was
everybody like chanting something like, "We will not burn our feet." Like,
actually, you know what? The chant they teach you is cool moss.
what?
Cool moss.
Cool moss.
Yeah.
Okay.
That when you're walking across the fire, you're thinking you're walking across cool moss. You're not walking on fire. So you're convincing yourself you're walking across grass, and you are not. Okay, but that's his thing. And
sorry if we ruined it for anybody that wants to go to
yeah.
Tony Robbins.
But no. One of the things he says, you know, how do you walk across fire quickly? Okay,
Yeah.
You don't stand on it, you know, but you kind of move it at a pretty decent pace. But it's you're putting it together, and what he teaches you to do is, and you'll see me do it a lot in this and other things, is snap your fingers or make a move that puts you into this state that you're kind of drifting out of, and how can you put yourself in that moment that you go, let's do this, right? And something that I did was I said, I'm going to snap my fingers, because then I can immediately just bring myself in there. And there's other people who do like salutes and high fives and pound their chest and everything. It's a little dramatic, but everybody has their own way to do it. And the first time I did it, I was the people I walked with. Johnny Depp was there, Oprah was there.
Wow.
We did it. My wife and I did it during the basketball lockout a few years ago. I don't remember what year exactly that was, but a bunch of Lakers were there and different basketball players from around the country. It was really funny because you're standing, in the auditorium, and you're standing there, and then you see like shoulders and heads like above everybody else. Like, oh, those must be all the basketball players. But it was a very interesting thing, and a lot of what he talked about the entire weekend, which was 40 hours in 3 days. Okay, so it was mostly 12 and 15-hour days. Most of what he talked about was your self-talk and getting rid of the baggage that we carry around. All right, and when I went in, I walked in with a lot of baggage from living on the East Coast and doing that whole thing, and then coming out here. And he taught us ways of just kind of discarding that baggage and moving on and being the person I want to be, and not the person who I felt I was, or that I lost out on, or something like that. And a lot of people could benefit from that. But I mean, again, it's self-talk. It's what we tell ourselves every day. How do you? Now, you and I discussed going to Tony Robbins.
We did, and I think there's one coming up. So
actually, it just got canceled.
It did, really, the one in San Jose.
Yep.
Well, I guess I won't have to be walking on coals anytime.
Coronavirus, man.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, we'll have to go to the next one once there's no coronavirus.
I want to, and we're going to bring it in because it's something that everybody should at least try. And this certainly isn't an advertisement for him, but the idea of learning how to control your thoughts is really, it should be intriguing to everybody, because our thoughts, what we think about, we bring about.
Exactly. So I think that's all the time we have for today, but I hope you guys got something out of it. But first of all, I wanted to, or lastly, I want to show you guys these t-shirts. I want to thank Mr. Shane for getting this done. He got this nice gift, these real estate agent Rehab t-shirts. And if you're watching and you want one of these t-shirts, put your email in the comments below. We're going to sell them at our cost. I don't know what the costs are going to be, but they'll be probably something
$49.95. No, I'm kidding.
Whatever it is,
we'll figure it out. We'll get them out at cost.
These are really cool. So thanks, Shane, for doing this for us. That was really awesome. But yeah. So if you're watching today, hopefully you've liked what you've seen here. You can subscribe to the channel. You can give us a thumbs up. We're on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, various different podcasts, Spotify, and all that fun stuff. So thanks again. This is Amir Al-Kayat and
Vance Mizzi. Like us, join us, and we will see you next week.
See you next week.